saints all marching in.
Like and subscribe.
Subscribe. When we left Kearney, we went to Livingston, all white community, very, very lovely, rather upper echelon of income. And I loved them. I sang in the choir. We had a wonderful music program. We had a Korean church come to share
right,
with us
Livingston,
while
yeah.
we were there.
Yes.
So I got to meet the Korean community. We had dinners together and
Yes, yes.
everything. And that was a wonderful experience. But Tom wanted a mixed church. And when Englewood opened up, Englewood had been where a conference bigwigs belonged. It was a
Really?
church, yeah. People of stature in the church and everything. But the community was changing, and the church became almost solid Caribbean.
Oh,
And so we found a new culture.
yeah, you just...
We learned to deal with and live with and like the food of still another different people
True.
who had different stories, different backgrounds, but we loved them. They were just as, and Livingston also. I had people that we still communicated with long after we retired, but it was a matter of a shared ministry of experience with the church that Tom and I lived together, which
Yes.
is what I'm trying to say. I can't separate him from the questions, about what was the most important to me was the most important to both of us. It was our life.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
became a teacher, and Tom had decided that, well, if I'm going to teach literature, I should go to Kirkridge, because one of the professors at Drew ran a literature and the religious imagination.
All right.
And I went to every year after we retired to Kirkridge for a retreat on literature. And it was, again, an opening experience to the inquiry of thought, where people are coming from, and all people of faith, but experiencing it through their own cultures in different ways, and an expansion. Once again, broaden your experience. And I just felt so fortunate throughout all this. When we were in our last parish,
Yeah.
I had been through a chance to visit Iona Island with Tom, which had been his dream. And when we were in the Kearney church, Tom became very active with the Mary Knoll sisters. Mary Knoll, he sat on the ground with a priest and these sisters and had communion, which was not a usual thing in those times. The Mary Knoll sisters were being trained for mission. They went to Central America, and four of the ones Tom knew best were killed in Central America in the uprisings there. So once again, we knew about the culture, the differences, and the struggles of the people of faith. We began in Kearney a study of the gospel in Solentanami because of Tom's connection with them, which was the poor farmers of Central America, Nicaragua, and the places that, and we read this in our church in Kearney by people who were interested in coming, that people saw Jesus through their lives. And this is what happened with that. Another culture, and people expressing very deep commitment to faith, but out of a different culture, a different life. So here we are in Englewood, and at that time I went to these wonderful, I have A Light to Read by Charles Rice was the professor from Drew who led this, and I was learning poetry, which I had never been too much into, but through my teaching and through this, the faith of the poet expressed in language of pictures and different than concrete, but the imagination and the mind was expanded to see what God is doing. And God is doing so many different things in so many different ways.
Now, this is after you retired?
Oh, no.
No, you
All
are
this
still
does
teaching
to-
in school.
I was teaching and going to all these things, and Tom kept pointing me where I should be because I had helped him when the
Yeah,
kids
that's
were
right.
small.
So it's time for him to help you.
He knew, and I said I can't do that. He put me in the car and drove me down to where the school was going to be. I could do it. Tom's father and mother used to come every Sunday and bring Sunday dinner when
Yes.
they were alive.
Yes.
And Papa would lie on the floor and the change would all fall out of his pocket.
Okay.
The 50 cents that we would pick up from Pop-Up's pocket was the parking money. I could go to Newark if Tom was sure I could get into a parking lot if I needed to.
Yeah.
But otherwise we couldn't afford it. So I parked on the street most of the time. And then we changed the 50 cents when he had to go anywhere where it was parking. He got it. So, I mean, this was a life of, we didn't have anything, but we had everything.
That's right. Now, you're talking about 1960s and 70s.
Yes. Now,
right?
I'm talking about dates, which I wrote down at the top of my paper. We were in Pine Brook from 56 to 68.
Yes.
We were in Arlington Kearney from 68 to 78, 10 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because of the wonderful Caribbean ministry. We were in Livingston, 78 to 83. We were only 5 years in Livingston. Tom was restless to be with a different. We paid off the mortgage and left.
Okay.
And then when in Englewood, we were in 1983. 1983 to 1992. Now, when he retired, we're at the shore. We had 2 rooms in a garage apartment, 400 million books, no place for anything that we needed.
So what did you do with all these books?
So Tom says, we've got to move. And then there was a flood the first winter.
Oh, wow.
And we were on the upstairs apartment watching our picnic tables and garbage floating by. And we thought, we don't need this. So we came inland, and Tuckerton is where we ended up, because while we were sitting on our deck at the shore, Ed Carl came over and said, the bishop says, Tom, are you Tom Trainer? Started. He was in his red truck calling him. Yep. He said, the bishop says you're sitting around not doing anything. He made this up.
Yeah.
And he said, I really need somebody over in Tuckerton.
Oh,
so
I see.
Tom became, from 2003 to 2010, the first associate in Tuckerton, which he loved.
Yes,
and
I'm
it was there that between the two of them, Tom always read the New York Times, and he read that Boris Trzaskowski I've got his material here, was a Methodist and they wrote a letter We wish to recommend to the World Methodist Council Boris Trzaskowski, President of Macedonia, a Methodist lay pastor, for the World Methodist Peace Prize. So Tom and Ed sent these letters to the World Methodist Council at Lake Junaluska in North Carolina, and suggested the name, then received a letter that they accepted this. Well, we wanted to go see Boris get the honor. Of course, nobody pays your way. So we saved up and got to Oslo, and I have the most beautiful pictures. I've scoured my house of Tom and Ed with Boris receiving this award. And again, a cultural difference, and a Methodist in a little town in Macedonia where everybody else was Catholic, and then he is shot down in an airplane. This happened after killed in crash. We got the news that Boris had been killed. And this was in, February 26, 2004. Whoa. So we were in Tuckerton and communicating with Boris and keeping alive this relationship. And he's shot. The plane is shot down by people opposed to what was going on. So even now, we're living that same, the same thing. But these experiences all say to me, and have said to Tom all through his life, that God is at work in very mysterious ways. How we get to meet and know and exchange our love and our faith with these people, so different from ourselves. Such a range. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time. And so at age 93, after we retired, I wrote something. This is what I said, some thoughts at 90. This was in our early retirement, 10/5/18, retiring even from the Tuckerton Church. And I was putting together all this, and I thought this fits in with what we're doing here. Jesus' life, ministry, parables, and word are so effective in giving hope and insight into this life and every life, its meaning and history. I've found challenge, truth, hope, and faith in this aspect of the life as regards the meaning and purpose for all life. Jesus is life, inasmuch as he embodies truth and love. What comes after is the result of this, and the mystery of God is revealed. My end is not my main concern. I accept the mystery. It is not about earning a reward. It's about love and truth revealed and lived. Jesus is now and forever. How that truth works out, I trust in God.
Amen. Amen to that. I think you should write a book about your life.
It's been fascinating, and I've scribbled things because I knew we had a limited time. But when you caused me to think about how, I thought it's been a marvel, and it's something that I did not do, but I was a recipient of a wonderful, wonderful set of experiences and people who I couldn't ever name them all, that have been so instrumental. And for Kenny, when he got to go to Ireland, because he was only a high school kid, he worked with old ladies, Catholic and Protestant, took them to the local pub,
Yeah.
saw them home, but he learned something about how the faith works in mysterious ways, how the church is bringing people together, trying to heal differences, but making a difference in each life in little ways, maybe.
Amen. Yeah. Amen to that. So how would you tell our next generation, this is the life principle I live by?
The search for truth. But if I search for the truth, even sometimes questioning, you just fall into Jesus' arms because Jesus is the truth.